Welcome to Unleash the Awesome with Dave Gambrill. All of us have unique skills, talents, and abilities that aren't being used to their full potential. Our mission is to share the people, tools, apps, and other resources that will help you unleash your awesome on the world.
Yo, what's up? It's Dave. Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Awesome. Today, let's talk about you can't steer a parked car. You can't steer a parked car. My friend Monique Pearson says this all the time, and I was having some coaching calls over the last couple days with people and came up with another analogy that I think will help you through this process. So a lot of people in my digital marketing mentorship Facebook group, where I'm teaching them how to monetize their message online, they're speakers and trainers and coaches and consultants and brick and mortar stores even and services, service-based businesses, trying to figure out how to build their email list and make a difference online, right? Add some leads to their business, add some revenue to their business online. And a lot of people get stuck in this cycle of learning, buying courses, buying tools, buying all kinds of stuff, but they never pull the trigger. They never do anything. They never get started. They just go back and buy another course or a different course or another tool, and they try it for like a hot second, and then they go, no, this doesn't work. In reality, I know all those tools work because I watch people be very successful with them. The things work if you work them. And so I was having a conversation on a coaching call today, and it dawned on me, this is very much like learning how to drive a car, right? And I'm assuming all of you that are listening have driven a car. I don't have a huge high school audience, but some of my kids' friends might be listening, and maybe they haven't driven a car, but I assume most of you listening are probably even listening in your car right now. And when you first learned how to drive, at least here in New Jersey, what they do is, I don't think you can get your permit until you're 17. Maybe it's 16, I don't remember. But either way, in order to get it, one of the things they do, it's a two-prong approach. You learn the rules of the road and the laws and everything in the classroom. And so they teach you all of that stuff in the classroom. And then there is a behind the wheel component where you have to get so many hours. I don't know how many it is right now. I think it's 6 or 8 or something like that of behind the wheel driving time with a driving instructor. And so there's lots of private companies in New Jersey. And so the way it works right now anyway is you take your driver's ed course in school at your public school. I guess private schools probably offer it too. And then you take the test, you take the written test, and then you have this little certificate, and then you go hire a coaching, driving coach program, whatever, and they get you the behind the wheel time. And then with those two things, you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and they give you your permit, and then you have that for a year. And so that's very much like what people are doing online, except all they're ever doing is studying for the written test, and they never get the behind the wheel time. And if you have driven a car before, you know that when you first learned how to drive it, no amount of reading a book or taking a test or even watching somebody else drive a car really helped you drive that car. You learned some of the basics. Okay, the steering wheel will do this, and I need to adjust my mirrors and my seat so I can see and put my seatbelt on and all of those things, but not until you actually got in the driver's seat, turned that car on, and started driving it, did you have any idea what it was really like to drive a car. And if you remember when you first learned how to drive, you then were so focused on just about everything that you sometimes forgot to look out the front and look at the traffic, right? You were like, oh my gosh, are my mirrors right? Let me look in the rear view mirror. Oh, let me look in the left mirror, the right mirror. Oh, let me make, what speed am I going? I need to check the speedometer, right? And so because you weren't good at any of it, all of this stuff was in your conscious mind, and you had to like check it all and whatever. And then you probably drove 5 miles under the speed limit and all that stuff, right? And you were nervous because you had an instructor in your car or your parents or whatever. But now I would suspect when you get in a car, you don't even think about it. You just get in and you go. And I bet there are sometimes you've had what's known as road hypnosis, where you're coming back from someplace, maybe work or vacation or something, and you just kind of got home on autopilot, and you don't even know how you got there, but you got home safely, right? Because you didn't even have to think about the turns or driving or stopping at red light. Like, you just did it automatically. But none of that ability would have happened if all you did was look at a book, if all you did was study. In order to do that, you had to get behind the wheel and get some experience driving the car. And then once the car was going, then you could steer it wherever you want, right? So that's a lot like people who are doing with their online business. They're not getting in the game. They're not launching their course. They're not launching their podcast. They're not starting a Facebook Live. They're not launching their blog. They're not starting to write their book. They're not whatever it is they're looking to do. They're getting ready to get ready, and they just keep getting ready to get ready. When in reality, if you want to be successful with a lot of this stuff, you have to believe the idea of ready, fire, aim, right? Not ready, aim, fire. Because what a lot of people do is they go ready, aim. Am I ready? Aim. I'm not sure I'm ready. Aim. Do I have it aimed right? I don't know if I'm ready. Aim, ready, aim, ready, aim, ready, aim, ready. Oh, no. Am I ready? And they never pull the trigger, right? And sometimes they'll even have the target in their scope and ready to go, and they still won't pull the trigger. And if you didn't listen to my episode called the Competence Loop, you may want to go check that out. I forget specifically what episode that was, but it was one of the first few episodes I did of this podcast. But that's really why people get stuck, is they don't believe that they are competent, that they have the knowledge and information. And so therefore their confidence is low. And so because their confidence is low, they think they're not competent. And so then they study something else or get another course or buy some other coaching or whatever, and they just never get started. Right? So if you want to be successful in almost anything, you just got to get in the game and figure it out. Like, I use the analogy of sports a lot too. If you've ever played a sport and you've been at practice and you practice against your teammates and you scrimmage, and maybe you draw stuff on the chalkboard or you watch film to see what the other team does, whatever, that's all well and good. That prepares you. But nothing is like being out there and actually playing the game. And then when you get out there, you find that, wow, this thing's moving way faster, or they're doing something slightly different, or what is this? Or we thought this idea would work, but it's not working the way we thought. And then you have to pivot. You have to fail forward, if you will. You have to do something different. But no amount of sitting on the sideline or studying film would have prepared you for that. Only getting in the game, getting the reps, getting the practice. If you ever watch football, really good college football or pro teams, when their team has either clinched the playoffs or they're in a position where they're winning a game handily, they want to try to get the backup players in as fast as they can and as long as they can, so they can get all those backup players some reps, because they cannot replicate a game situation or game speed in practice. You just can't do that. And so they want to get them some game experience, because that helps with their growth and their maturity in the game. And then they start to see it, and there's just saying that the game starts to slow down for you. It's because when you go out there and it's your first time, like, everything's moving so fast. But as it becomes part of your subconscious competence, meaning that, or unconscious competence, meaning like you don't even have to think about it. You're just in a flow state. It just happens. You don't have to think about, is that receiver going to get open? You just know they're going to get open because you see them turn in the corner, and you throw the ball to a spot where they're going to be, not where they are now, but where they're going to be, and they catch it. And you throw that ball right in the seam, right between the defenders, but you didn't have to think about any of that. Right? But in practice, you're like, oh, okay, I have to wait for that guy to clear the defender, and then I can throw it. But in the game, if you do that, that's too late, especially in the pros. Even at high level, high school and college, right? You don't even have time to think with a lot of this stuff. Like you have to recognize it subconsciously and then just execute. There's no time to consciously think about it. So my encouragement to you would be, if you're not in it, whatever it is that is for you, making your podcast, doing Facebook Lives or whatever, no amount of getting ready to get ready is going to get you ready. You're ready. You have the information. You have the technology. You have the tools at your disposal to do these things. You just keep making the excuse that you need to do one more thing. You need to check one more thing. You need to get ready to get ready. And I'm telling you, you don't. You're not going to get that car to go anywhere unless you start it, right? You can't steer a parked car, as Monique says. So just get in it, start it, figure it out. It's not going to be perfect. And even if you waited to get ready to put it out there, it's still not going to be perfect. So what the heck are you waiting for? Put it out there. For those of you that are thinking about doing something like this, a podcast or a Facebook Live or a book or something, here's the other really great news. When you start, you're not going to be great. It's not going to be perfect. But nobody's going to be watching or care anyway. And if anybody is watching or listening or paying attention, it's probably your mom or dad or your brother or sisters or like your neighbor. And they're like, good job, honey. Way to go. That's great. Okay, cool. Awesome. But it's going to take you a while, a couple repetitions, for you to find your voice, to find your groove, to find your momentum. And while you're doing that, it will take a little bit for your audience to find you as well. But the good news is I've seen this time and time again. I've found it with this podcast. I've found it with my Facebook Lives, my email list, all that stuff. As I started hitting my groove, as I started getting better at my copywriting, as I started getting better at delivering content, doing podcasts, whatever, my audience started to show up. And so it was good timing because the first few episodes, first few things, the first couple times I did it, they sucked really bad. But I'm getting better, and I get better through the repetitions, and I just do it and do it and do it. So my encouragement to you is get going, just start, just get in the game, and then get in the game and take some shots. Okay, got to get in the game and take some shots on goal. You got to make an effort to get going, all right? So until next time, go unleash your awesome on the world. See you later.
Thanks for listening to Unleash the Awesome. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please share us on your favorite social media platforms using #UnleashAwesome.